Welcome to the West Canada Valley Board of Education, Monday, June 13th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Broadbent?
Sure. So a lot since the last board meeting. We finished up our AP exams here in the high school. 8th grade state assessment finished up just this past week. And Regents exams start on Wednesday this week. So pretty busy time for testing. We have the Denali group here to present to our middle school students on their strength assessments. They did a strength assessment in their classes, and then they came in and grouped them, discussed their strengths and how those strengths could work well with others. So that was a good thing for the middle schoolers. We had our prom at Breezes, really nice there, nice place, kids seemed to have fun. National Honor Society for Tech Ed down in BOCES took place on May 25th. We had 6 students inducted on that night, so that was a nice event as well. You've been through Newport, you can see senior banners were hung up this past weekend here. I just want to thank First Light again for doing that for us and working with us. We had the 8th grade trip to Great Escape and senior trip to Hershey Park since our last meeting. Kids were great, both trips I was able to attend with them, so yeah, it was a good time, had great weather for both. We had our senior picnic today. We also had a number of musical events, Solo Fest, Memorial Day Parade, where the kids marched to Newport, Sherburne Festival of Bands, which we ended up winning several trophies. First place, Class B champions for our bands, 5th place for marching band, 2nd place jazz ensemble, 3rd place drumline, 2nd place for color guard, and 1st place in small ensemble with a score of 97.5, which I guess was like the highest score they've had.
That was also the highest score of any class of any band, so regardless of class. So it was the highest score.
And they played a recording on Facebook, which was really, really good.
Yeah, no, they did a great job. The kids really enjoyed it. Again, nice weather for that. Enjoyable. And just this past Saturday, they had the Violet Festival up to Dallasville, and another great day for our band kids. Any questions about any of that? Anything coming up?
How many went on the senior trip? Sorry.
Senior trip was 31 total.
All the Regences, except for the one U.S. history, are back.
Yep, they're all back normal. Yeah, and the U.S. was just due to, what we said, due to the incident in Buffalo.
Okay.
And there was some sensitive information on the test that didn't want to cause further stress to the students.
Any other questions? All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Mrs. Holmes?
So we've had a busy month as well. We had a book study group for the teachers with Tanya Schnabel for our writing curriculum. We had our elementary spring concert for grades 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6 band and chorus. We had a big science day that was K through 6 that was organized by Mrs. Main. We had each grade level that did a different challenge and task, and we had the specialists that became judges and went around the school. And then at the end of it, we got all of the kids down to the gym. We did a quick 15-minute award ceremony, and they announced who the winners were from the judges, so that was a lot of fun for them. 6th grade went to the KOA Conservation Day. We did our grade 4 science assessment for the state. 5th grade, Potato Hill. 3rd grade, Hell Caverns. Kindergarten, the Utica Zoo, lots of field trips. Grades 5 and 6, we had our career day that was organized by Katie Conkling and Rebecca Wood. They did a great job with that. The 5th grade field trip, they went to the Herkimer Fairgrounds for farm safety. We had our first Orton Gillingham training for the 5 teachers coming up that want to become certified in that. That was on June 6th. 2nd grade went to the Wild Animal Park. We had math and movement professional development For the teachers that are doing the summer program, I talked about that. Our MAX came in, so they'll be doing that this summer. We had grade level meetings for all the different grade levels to kind of sort through all that data and get the kids into the classes next year. Those are just about done. We had another, well, actually 2 months of open kindergarten registration. We're up to 33 students, so that's good news. Summer program, we got that all organized. I sent the letters out to parents. We currently have 37 students enrolled in pre-1 through pre-4, which is a really good number. Mrs. Countryman is going to continue doing her pre-5 and 6 Orton Gillingham with the students that she started last year and worked with throughout this year. And then Mrs. Main and Mrs. Ludwig have decided to try a couple of STEM camps. These are a little bit different. We're doing one for grades pre-7 through pre-8 and pre-5 through pre-6. They're coming up with a lot of fun activities. Those run 2 weeks. We're going to keep them consistent with our summer school days so that if they need to take the bus, they can. And we're going to be doing swim for all of them. So anyone that's participating in a summer program, Mr. Russo will be doing some swim lessons with them. And then coming up, we have first grade going to the Herkimer Diamond Mines. We've got our 3 through 6 field days tomorrow. We've got the K2 Fun Fest on Friday. 6th grade's going to Clark's Gym. And our Unity Challenge, we've got that back up and going again this year. And then, of course, our 6th grade moving up ceremony at 9:30 on the 22nd. That was a lot. Any questions on any of that?
No, you guys
Fourth
are
grade
doing-
field trip?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, 4th grade field trip. They are going to Swale Pond, the nature sanctuary there in Poland. That's coming up. They haven't gone yet.
Nice, busy.
So you have
Busy.
nothing going
Nor does Glenn.
Good? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's exciting. Any questions, anybody? All right. Felix?
Same thing, we had a bunch of field trips. Staffing, still haven't received any bus driver applications, but I heard from some of our staff that's in contact with bus drivers in other districts. We might have some that are applying over the summer. They're just holding out in the district that they're at, they don't want to leave there.
Is it still the 2 positions?
Still the 2 positions, yeah. I had some calls like a month ago from different people, but nobody followed through, came in, we got an application. Our large buses that we ordered, they usually are delivered here in the summertime. They're not even going to be released from the facility until October 31st. So they're looking like an early December delivery. There's a holdup on parts. I mean, pretty much anything you order now, there's a holdup. At this point, the summer bus runs, looks like we're going to have 7 bus runs going this summer, 4 coming here to West Canada, 3 going to outer district placements. Which will require 7 drivers, 1 monitor, and 1 nurse. The affidavit of compliance is due to the DMV by July 1st. It's almost completed. It should be submitted middle of this week. And DOT physicals are scheduled for July 7th. Any questions?
Thank you. And Mr. Doherty is not here tonight. He's at the Scholar Athlete Banquet in Syracuse. Right?
Yes.
All right, any questions on the consent agenda? No questions? All right, a motion to approve the consent agenda. Jessica first. Sarah second, all in favor? A motion to go into executive session for appointment personnel matters, including review appointment of employees and contract negotiations. Janine Burke, Jessica second, all in favor? our action items, our personnel report. So I need a motion to accept the resignation of Brian Anderson, building mechanic, resignation for purpose of retirement effective July 8th, 2022. Janine first, Sarah second, all in favor? I need a motion to approve the appointment of Benjamin Russo, physical education teacher, 4-year probationary appointment in the 10-year area of physical education, K through 12, step 1 of the teacher bargaining agreement effective September 1st, 2022. Sarah first, Jessica second, all in favor? All right, on the appointments for athletics. Motion to approve Todd Hoban, head coach, varsity football, step 5 of the extracurricular index of the teacher bargaining agreement. Jessica first, Sarah second, all in favor? Motion to approve the appointment of Sarah's assistant coach, varsity football, step 5 of the extracurricular index of the teacher bargaining agreement. Jessica first. Janine second, all in favor? No? 1 no. Motion to approve the appointment of Mike Kerr, assistant coach, varsity football, step 3 of the extracurricular index of the teacher bargaining agreement. Janine first, Sarah second, all in favor? Motion to approve the appointment of Ben Russo, head coach, modified football, step 1 of the extracurricular index of the teacher bargaining agreement. Jessica first, Janine second, all in favor? Motion to approve the appointment of Dave Smith, coach, boys varsity soccer, step 1 of the extracurricular index of the teacher bargaining agreement. Sarah first, Jessica second, all in favor? Motion to approve the appointment of Corey Young, coach, boys modified soccer, step 5 of the extracurricular index of the teacher bargaining agreement. Janine first, Sarah second, all in favor? Motion to approve the appointment of Dan Capron, coach, boys, girls, cross country, step 5 of the extracurricular index of the teacher bargaining agreement. Janine first, Jessica second, all in favor? Motion to approve the appointment of Shelley Hazard, coach, girls, varsity soccer, step 3 of the extracurricular index of the teacher bargaining agreement. Sarah first, Shauna second, all in favor? Motion to approve the appointment of Amy Dahmer, coach, girls modified soccer, step 5 of the extracurricular index of the teacher bargaining agreement. Jessica first, Janine second, all in favor? Motion to approve the appointment of Tracy Barber, coach, girls varsity cheer, step 1 of the extracurricular index of the teacher bargaining agreement. Janine first, Sarah second, all in favor? Motion to approve the appointment of Abigail Rose, volunteer assistant, girls varsity cheer. Janine first, Jessica second, all in favor? Motion to approve Teresa Sinikowski, volunteer assistant, girls soccer. Shauna first, Janine second, all in favor? Substitutes. Motion to approve the appointment of Brian Anderson, substitute building mechanic for the CSDA bargaining agreement effective July 9th, 2022. Janine first, Shauna second, all in favor? Motion to approve Jody Carnwright, substitute cleaner for the CSDA bargaining agreement effective June 14th, 2022. Janine first, Jessica second, all in favor? Motion to approve Tammy Cutter, substitute cleaner for the CSEA bargaining agreement effective June 14th, 2022. Janine first, Jessica second, all in favor? Next, we're going to go on to the bus resolution. I need a motion to approve the bus resolution, whereas the qualified voters of the West Cannon Valley Central School District, New York, at the annual meeting of voters duly held on May 17th, 2022, duly approved a proposition authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds and notes and entering into installment purchase contracts in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $315,992 to finance the acquisition of 4 school buses. The expenditure of such sum for purpose, and the levy of the necessary tax therefore to be levied upon the taxable property of the school district, and collecting the annual installment as provided by section 416 of the ed law, taking into account the state aid received, trade, and value.
So you have to read that.
I'm sorry, what?
I was hoping you didn't have to read this whole thing.
Janine first. Jessica second, all in favor? No. Alright, I need a motion to approve the excise equipment of the 2006 Ford F-250 quarter-ton truck. Jessica first, Sarah second, all in favor? Okay. Did you want to talk about this, if I just went into the
Yes.
resolution for minutes?
Nope, I want to talk about this. So I want to stop here. You have a couple of documents in front of you. One of them is a resolution, you'll see it's the other resolution. One was a plus and one looks like this, that's in front of you that I just received tonight, like this. You also have a sheet that has the emergency project information on it, and it kind of looks like this. It says West Cannon Valley Emergency Project on the top of this. Okay, so I want to just talk a little bit about this, although I've sort of been updating, members of the board on what's going on. So currently, as we continue to prepare for our upcoming project, our upcoming capital project, we have a number of maintenance, plumbing, electrical, mechanical things on this scope of this project. During this phase of the project, where our engineers are coming to visit and look through some things, we had, and quite honestly, the boilers are shut down now with the weather. We switched over to summer boilers. One of our expansion tanks, or an area of our expansion tanks, is pretty well compromised to the point that it's leaking enough not to be functionable. So when the engineers came in to come down and look through that, we looked into whether there was any way to get this tank, this expansion tank, through until the project itself, because it is an item on our project that we are replacing. And they do not feel in any way, shape, or form that tank can be used, repaired, or anything like that. So essentially, it did not make it to the project. So how does this play into this? So at this point in time, we can exercise our right as a board and as a school district to address an emergency project that we will get our aid back on, just like we would in the project. But SED will authorize us to do this quicker without the entire process of waiting for the project to be done. So if you look down through, we've had engineers looking at this, a whole bunch of different things, and we've sped this process up to try to get some answers on all of this. And they've come up with a really very rough estimate of the cost of the replacement of the expansion tank that's down there. Now, do we expect it to be $81,000? No, but that is the number that we want to safely put in there that is related to a do not exceed number. So you will see that $25,000 in the estimate is material cost for 3 new 370-gallon expansion tanks with the new isolation valves and piping required to install. $25,000 in labor for those three existing expansion tanks, including cutting up the old 1,000-gallon tank in order to fit out of the boiler door. So what's happening here, and Kelly, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, we are taking one giant expansion tank that we're going to have to cut up to get out of that boiler room, and putting in 3 small tanks that will occupy both the elementary and high school buildings.
There's 2 small tanks being removed also.
Okay, 2 small tanks being removed. So they'll be cut up and removed, the rigging that'll be recovered, the construction contingency for any unforeseen conditions, and then any incidental costs that are associated with the design and costs through Chase Synthesis, the attorney, Rick Timms, and so forth. $20,000 gives us a do not exceed number of $81,000. Again, do I think it will cost the district that much money or cost us that much out of the project? No. And what we're doing here is speeding up this process of something we were going to do next summer. We're just going to do this in the fall so our heating system is up and running. So the first step in that process is the resolution that you have in front of you tonight to authorize us to go forward. There will be 3 or 4 different contractors that will come in and view this project and give us their estimate on repairs. We will take the lowest or the best situation we have in that, and it does not need to go out to bid for that because it is an emergency project. So you are authorizing that process to go. It'll get done, it'll get submitted. SED will quickly turn that back around to us, and we will get the tank ordered. One of the biggest rush part of this, and the reason I was initially going to wait until July, talk about it tonight, and then move it to July. They are very concerned about, as you've heard with everything, the lead time on the tank itself. So the quicker we can get those tanks ordered, the less worry we have about those being in place in winter. We are pretty fortunate that it happened when it did. Otherwise, we'd be in a little bit more panic mode about how we're gonna Band-Aid our heating system. But we think we can get this done before the heating season.
For when?
Before the heating season, before we get turned.
When did they plan on doing this?
Hopefully they're gonna do it in the summer at some point, late
Okay.
summer, yeah. Yep.
But the 81,000 does not come out of the capital project?
The 81,000, well, depends on how we end up doing it, yes, it could potentially come out of the project itself. We submit it for aid, just like you would with the project things. Technically, we could discuss this, it can become an additional amount of money if you wanted to get something else done too, but that's up to us. Because we are pulling it technically from the project, so it's like cutting 81,000. Again, I don't think it's gonna cost
But
that.
if we don't use it all, it'll still be money to use in the
Yes, yeah,
project.
it'll actually, whatever this costs will be money that we won't have to spend in the project, or we can spend it on something else we need to get done, or if there's some sort of escalation on something. So, yes, it's a pain, but probably in the long run, it actually benefited us that it broke, because now we can declare it an emergency.
By declaring it the emergency is what gets us the aid next year rather than waiting
5 years
Yep.
or whatever.
Correct.
Are there any questions on this before I take a motion?
This was part of the original.
Yeah, this
It
is.
is.
the
Yeah, this is
cap.
right in the original project.
It was part of the original project, but because of the timing of it, we have to do it now.
We're pretty sure, are we pretty sure that this is 1960?
The tag on it says 1962,
Yes.
right on the side of the tank.
They don't make them like they used to, I guess. That's a pretty good run for that tank, 62 to today.
If they don't
I bet our
get,
new tank that we get won't last that long.
No.
it's not gonna last 60 years.
Did you graduate?
If they don't get it done before the first day of school and we have to turn the heat on, the one we have would be okay for a little bit.
No, we'll be fine. We're gonna get it in, that's why we're doing it right now. We're gonna get it, it'll have new, I'm not,
just
at
thinking
this
if it
stage of the
doesn't-
game, I am not concerned about our heat, because I think if we get this rolling now, we'll be able to get this done.
Okay, I'm just thinking if it didn't come in time.
Yeah, well, then we'll have to deal with that.
We don't typically turn the heat on until first of October, mid-October. Glad you don't live at my house.
Yeah.
I'm cold, We
Oh,
it
uh,
goes did turn on. it on early last year, but it was still implemented in September.
Are any other questions? All right, a motion to approve the emergency project resolution as it's come to the attention of the Board of Education here at West Canada that the expansion tanks within the heating system are in disrepair, no longer useful, compromising our heating source and system. With that said, the school district is hereby authorized to make transfers between and within functional unit appropriations in the general fund and or by the transfer of funds in unappropriated, unassigned fund balance from the 2021-2022 school year in order to pay the cost associated with the replacement of the expansion tank in the amount not to exceed $81,000. Jessica first, Janine second, all in favor? All right, thank you. All right, discussion items, the BOCES project,
So,
IMA.
yeah, so I included the paper that I was going to give you to vote on tonight for a second time with the BOCES project IMA. So that was in your packet with to a certain extent, the exact same document that we approved in May, with the changes being for Dolgeville, CVA, and O&D Young, who changed their payment schedules. CVA and O&D Young increased their first payment on their IMA, and Dolgeville reduced theirs on their first payment. So the plan at that point in time was to make those adjustments. There was another public hearing on that that you may or may not have watched or attended. And they went back through the project, the scope, there was no changes to the scope. Essentially, it was just a change to the IMA and a little more discussion about the IMA and what that means and why that benefits districts in controlling, as you've seen here, their payment schedules and what they have to do. So just to be clear, all of these payment schedules were all discussed with us, in terms of our business managers, our superintendents, so that we were able to come up with our plans that we were comfortable with covering our WADA amount that we had to pay. So that planning all went into all of this and so forth. As you know, in the first vote in May, Dolgeville voted that down. initially it was thought of that, and again, just as a reminder, all 10 districts have to vote yes on this, so it was 9-1. So the process in this was, that, what's going on, is it the number, is it the scope, is it whatever, and it turned out to be just the initial payment, and they were more than willing to pay more on the backside of it, but if the adjustments could have been made. Now, in theory, could this have come out earlier? Yes. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm not really sure why that was not discussed or what. They have some transition going on there and so forth, so maybe that was the reason. But for whatever reason, it went back. Again, didn't really impact us at all because our payment schedule remained unchanged. We weren't increasing or decreasing. It was the same thing I gave you. So once that was done, and that took right up until really recently last week or the week before, everything seemed to be set. For this vote, instead of doing it all on the same night like we did the last time, they decided to not force all the districts to have special meetings about this, that they were going to just have them on their regular scheduled meeting re-vote on this. Well, before we could have our regular scheduled meeting, Poland voted, and they voted it down this time. I don't know why. I have not had my meeting on that. That is Friday. So we're going to discuss this as a region on Friday. But for some reason, they voted yes the first time, no the second time.
We were told they did not have a full board that night.
Okay. You know more than I do right now, Janine. I don't know.
That's the information we received. They didn't have a full board, and Sandy had reached out to Mrs. Dutton. And then we had the retiree ceremony and tenure thing, so she didn't get a chance to see if she had called her back.
Yeah. So that type of information and where this goes from there is a big part of my meeting on Friday of this week, so I don't have a lot of answers on where this is going, but again, the project is on hold. There's no vote at this point in time. Could they continue to keep bringing the IMA back up? Yes, but if there is no reason, if there's a reason it's getting voted down where people aren't going to vote yes on it, it won't get brought back up. In the Dolville situation, it was a payment adjustment, so people anticipated the other 9 districts were still okay with it. They already voted yes on the exact terms that they had before, and the ones that did change the terms wanted to change their terms, so there wasn't too much concern over a no vote, and it happened. So, and that's what happens sometimes when you have these kind of things. I'll continue to say, however this goes forward, we're talking about our things that are here, like expansion tanks and things like that, and I've toured there. I can tell you right now, we look like we're as modern as possible here compared to what they have. So this is not work that can't be done. It's got to be done at some point in time, how they do it or how they go forward. And for us personally, it's disappointing to me. Believe me, no district, I don't want to come here and say we have to spend all this money either and ask and have people vote. I don't. But in the end, if we have to do this stuff and it has to get done, this is the best way to do it. If we don't, you're going to add in a whole bunch of other fees. If they go to a public vote, there's going to be, I could go into detail, but the way the payment schedules will be different. It's just going to change the dynamic of what we have now. So obviously my hope is Friday we go in and somehow they're able to correct whatever's going on at this point in time. And if they're not, there'll be a new plan and I'll come back next month with whatever that is for you. So there's no need to vote tonight. That's basically what I'm telling you. So I gave it to you just so you can see what you would have had in front of you tonight if we were voting, but we will not be voting on anything tonight.
All right, capital project, do you have any more updates?
Yeah, so we talked about the emergency project. I want to update the entire project. So I gave you a sheet tonight. We had a meeting last week, and I got the minutes before this meeting. Sometimes I don't get the minutes back before our meetings, but I like to share our meeting minutes so you can see what our last LaChase meeting, and some of it will make sense to you because it's in note form, obviously, from LaChase, but I'll just kind of take you through some of the things we talked about and where we're at with the overall project at this point in time. So if you look at the top, you'll see the emergency project update. That's where we addressed the options that were available for our tanks, and the decision basically was made this week that we get that resolution to all of you here so that we could get that tank ordered, because there was real concern at the meeting about, as I mentioned, about that tank. You'll see the project and scope review as we go through, certain things come up. These eye wash stations to be added in there will have to be per code that need to be put in there. And some of these things are really minor things, and I won't take you through every piece of this, but you can keep this and kind of go through it. If you have any questions, let me know. Obviously, we continue to have concerns about inflation and material price increases. The inflation's crazy right now. So this is, unlike our last project where we were, pretty confident in our bids and what things were gonna cost, we've put in a lot of money into this project, anticipating things to come in higher. So my hope still is that they're gonna come in way lower than that, and you're going to have some, money to work with here in this project. But again, these delays in ordering, supply chains, all these things are real things right now. As you go down through, just so you know, as you look through there, we start to talk about the budget summaries, our cash flow. Rick Timms is always in on these meetings with us, when we plan to borrow. If you look at the third bullet point down under project budget that I have highlighted, we're looking at SED approval, and we are shooting, at least Rick and us, we would like to have SED approval by the end of November. And I'll talk about when we'll be submitting. So that's our hope, and then we start to borrow in December and start to do our bonds into 23, and the work would be done, obviously starting next spring and the summer. If you look at number 4, the design, right now, we initially, and this is why I've been delayed in giving you numbers, because they're delayed. So they were hoping to have the original docs for us to look at by May 15th. That was delayed till 6/10, actually submitted to Synthesis by May 15th. They were not delivered till 6/10, so Synthesis has those, or LaChase has those from Synthesis, I should say, and they are working on those numbers. So as soon as I get those numbers, we'll be talking about them as well. Project schedule still on time. We always have contingencies for these kinds of things. So the standard review time at SED is 4 to 5 months at this point in time. We're hoping to have this ready to go in August. That's the goal for right now. And again, I just highlighted that final cost reports on this whole project won't end until 2024. So you get an idea of the length of this project. We won't really close this out until the fall. We'll do most of the work next summer and fall, but it won't close out until the following June. Down on the bottom, you'll see I have another highlighted material there with the hazardous material reports. Last month and the month before, we were doing really well with asbestos. Well, we did hit one in the cafeteria, so there will be some asbestos removal from the hazardous. Don't know to what extent that is going to be at this point in time. There's already a number in that budget for it. My hope was that that money would become available to us. Hopefully some of it still will, but there will be some asbestos removal. It's located with the original paint and up into the ceilings of the high school cafeteria is where it is. If you flip over to the other side of this, you'll see we also talk about cooperative purchasing agreements. That's something that we didn't talk about in the last project, those of you that were here. This is a new way to purchase things as a group cost, which helps us to lower some of the equipment costs. Whether that happens or not, it'll depend on certain things. We'll be looking at some point here to standardize if we haven't already done so, which I think we already have standardized train because we've been working on it in our meetings. So that allows us to continue to build off the systems we have in our building. That'll be another part of this. National Grid was having a meeting with Synthesis this week. As you know, all this stuff takes time, but those are the potential savings of rebates in terms of things we're doing for energy savings in this project. So anything, whether it's 10,000, 30,000, 50,000, 100,000, whatever we can do, that just keeps reducing the cost of the project and gives you opportunity at some point to, just take the project at a lesser cost, or use that money to get things done that you want to get done. And those are decisions we make down the road. If you look under our open discussions there, my biggest concern with the initial delay of the cost is with all of us in here. So I want to have time, and because it takes them time to put together accurate estimates and accurate descriptions of products and labor and all those things that we're doing. I get that, but I also didn't want them to come back and say, okay, here's your stuff, let me know next month, here's the cost, let me know next month what you want to cut or what you want to put as alternates. Those things are going to take time. All of us are going to have different opinions on that. So if we get to a situation where these cost estimates come in a little bit high in the beginning, we may have to prioritize certain items that are in this project as alternates pending how the bids come in. And that's one of the discussions that we do as a group here and make some decisions on that. And then obviously when we start to move forward with what we actually want in certain places, down to paint color and whatever else, we have those discussions as well. But the point of that story is that we're not under the gun for that. We submit it to SED, there's not no timeline for that, and then we'll have time as we lead into bidding season to take care of those kinds of things. So that's our update. My next meeting, or our next meeting on this is July 6th, so I will have another meeting with everybody before our next board meeting, which I believe is the following week. So does anybody have any questions right now on the project? That's basically everything that I know at this point in time in regards to it.
All right, thank you. School safety update.
Yeah, so unfortunately, you know, we as school districts, and I know it's not always a public discussion, but we as school districts, administrators and boards, those kind of things, and I've said this, you know, for the years we've been here, regardless of what we talk about in this board meeting or what we talk about with projects and boilers and all these kinds of things, the school safety piece is our number one. That trumped things like even COVID and things like that. It's, you know, your school safety and how we do protocols and how we adjust them and how we update them, that's an ongoing thing that we do in this district. Now, it becomes a little more public and more people have questions about that when unfortunately we have incidents or tragedies that happen, because it makes it, it brings that, you know, that back to light and the potential of those kinds of things happening and the tragedies that occur with that. So, you know, whenever that happens, you naturally, even as we look at our things, we jump right back and go, hey, what are we doing here that we could do better, those kinds of things. We meet with teachers, we meet with our building, we meet with our SROs. We'll have our regular meetings at the end of the year to reflect on those kinds of things. We'll update our safety plans as we do and present them to the board, and we go over those and vote and approve those all throughout this process. So these are things that, you know, that are ongoing annually for us regardless of what goes on. And I think it's important, you know, if there is public comment on that tonight, that I'm able to answer any questions to the best of my ability, and any questions you guys have on currently on procedures we have. Now keep in mind, safety is also a tough one for people that are out there too, because a lot of our safety protocols and things that we do, some of those are pretty straightforward, evident things that we can do. Others, things are part of a plan that are confidential, quite honestly, and that they wouldn't be proper safety plans if they weren't confidential. So, you know, those kinds of unknowns of what's going to happen if this and what's going to happen if that, you know, we try to, obviously every scenario and everything is impossible to imagine, but we try to take in and do the research. I know this summer we're going to be attending a meeting actually with the Secret Service this summer. They're coming in to speak right in Herkimer to all of us about different things that go on, and you know, when it comes to this mental health and social emotional things that are going on and so forth. So, you know, we'll have those. We'll bring in trainings. We train our teachers. If there are new things that we need to train our teachers with, we'll do that as well. We are still in our same positions that we were forever in this. I mean, we have, you know, our doors are monitored in the morning. We have points of entry, everything. We are in a 100% lockout for the entire day, every day. So when you hear schools are in a lockout, yeah, you can say that. They're not letting anybody in, but we're in a lockout every day, you know, because you can't get in unless you have identification or you ring the buzzer and have, you know, the ability to get in. So we really control that. Now, as we move forward, to be quite honest, the security pieces were a little easier during the COVID protocols because no one was allowed here. So we kind of controlled things a lot better. As we start to open back up, which everybody wants because, you know, we're not occupying, you know, prisons here, you know, you start to open up, okay, what do we want to have? How do we balance community involvement during the school day especially? Things like morning program with people coming in on a daily basis to be in the building. How do we manage that and still keep security and so forth? So, you know, those are things that we'll talk about as we start to move another step closer to normal next year, hopefully. And, you know, that's where we're at with this. And again, we'll update our plans and move forward. Are there a million things out there that you'll hear, you know, that you can add to your buildings and things you can do and new ideas and all that? Yeah, and we take all those into account. Some cost, some don't. Who knows where the legislature will go with this? Legislature will go with this because, you know, there may be money that's earmarked for certain things. There's a big push. Right now, we have one resource officer. There's push to have more than one resource officer, and so you have one in every building. We technically have 2 buildings here, even though they're attached. There's talk of funding for that. Right now, we fund the SRO here through general fund. Basically, we make a decision as a school here that that's just part of our staff, and we fund it. You know, I don't know if they'll end up earmarking things for that here where we're able to spend money that's specifically for school safety, including SROs and things like that. So, you know, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things. I know we'll learn a lot this summer about some things as well, and certainly we'll have some discussions about things here as a board. But I wanted to talk about that a little bit tonight and answer any questions anybody had at this stage of the game about any of this.
Are there any questions?
Do you use the one entrance?
Yeah, so we use one entrance in both throughout the entire day. The only time that we have 2 entrances open are at 7:30 in the morning, where we have the bus entrance and the drop-off entrance. So those are the first thing
That's
in the
an
morning.
issue. One entrance.
Yeah,
It should be, just one.
yeah. I mean, I'm not, there's,
I mean, they're coming in all the doors. That's what happened out there in Texas. They opened the door.
yeah, so we have
Left it open
2.
to go to the car.
So we have staff at both doors in the morning for both doors. The buses unload, kids get off the buses as soon as that is, we lock that door. As soon as all the parent drop-offs happen at the front door, that's locked as well. And then the remainder of the day is a single entrance with everything locked out the rest of the
Is
day.
the elementary school one entrance?
Yep, because they're
They use one door,
the bus loop, yeah,
and this high school should be using the same
the
door.
bus loop.
Right
yeah.
out there.
So the bus loop that we're using right now,
Too bad they have to walk.
well, the bus loop that we're using is on that side right now.
No, one entrance.
Is that something we can look at this summer, come back?
We can do,
Feasible.
so here's what you have. We can go one entrance, but you're gonna bring your high school buses back into that front loop again, which is what we've done forever. But you have, then we get into our visitor parent drop-off issue around that loop that's out front, which is a safety issue as it is. We cured that completely by the way we're doing it right now. It is like extremely efficient in the morning on how we have drop-offs in the morning now, with no worry about cars running into each other, parents fighting with each other in the parking lot, and have to break them up. All that stuff is kind of ended. So, because we don't have a visitor drop-off area out there. So, and part of this came about because of COVID, to be quite honest, the way we were doing things. But, you know, yeah, you can go back to that. If you want to use the elementary bus loop, that's not an issue for everybody that parks on the elementary parking lot. But you've got the high school parking lot, am I pointing right? Yeah, over on this side, that would have to go all the way over to the sports entrance, if you just made that the single point of entry in the morning. See what I mean? So, those are just discussions. I mean, we've talked about it a million times. I mean, it's not like when COVID started to loosen and we started to do this, you know, we kept the morning that way, and, you know, if you take, well, Mr. Kemmler's asking about the single point out, I would never change it. But, I'm not gonna say that we don't have we have 2 doors that are open, that are occupied by staff in the morning, so I can keep going with a lot of these things. Like, we could keep going with, you know, morning program, everybody wants morning program back, but I'm just saying, every morning, I mean, we can run morning program with the kids in the cafeteria, you're also grouping all the kids in the cafeteria. That's a whole other issue. I mean, I could go through and check off, so there's a balance here somewhere, you know what I mean, as to why. Because if you truly want to address every issue. Nobody comes in this building. Once the door's on, we lock that thing. Care that you forgot your lunch. We forget, you know, right now, we don't even let them in the building really to do that. We just have them drop it off out in the lobby and we go get it. I mean, but I'm just saying, there's all different levels of how you want it, and it's still a school. You know, I mean, so that's a balance. It's certainly, as we go forward, worth more discussion. Can what Mr. Kemmler asked happen? In 1 second it can happen. We can move that.
It is more efficient though, parking.
It's cured the safety issue. I had
Yeah.
a major traffic safety issue out here in the
But
morning
we were trying
because
to do the loop around
that little loop's too small.
Yeah.
So there's more, especially during COVID, since COVID, more people bring their kids if
Do
they
your
can.
faculty enter all through the same door, or do they have access to like?
They'll have badges, so they can come in through whatever door they need to with a badge in the morning.
So they
How
can use
long-
whatever door?
How long is the parent pickup door open with the second person in the morning?
Just the
Is
bus
it
door.
like 20 minutes?
The bus door is done
No, the bus door.
by 7:30, like
Oh,
before we
okay.
even get to the other door closed, because that's just our bus drop off. Mr. Broadbent, what time do we start dropping off? 20?
So they release the bus at 7:25,
Yep.
and pretty much every kid who drives and rides a bus comes in by 7:30. I lock the doors because I'm standing there. And then the good part of that is they're coming straight in, they're hitting the cafeteria, getting their breakfast. When I started here, it was 4 periods of breakfast, they'd go down. Now we've got it down to 10 minutes. Every kid who needs breakfast gets breakfast, makes it to class on time. So it has made it much more efficient in that aspect. My
So probably
crews at
20
the-
minutes max.
That door is
Mike.
open? That door is only open for about 5 to 10 minutes.
That door is 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
The
They
one
all
over
go
there,
open.
the front door with Mike Kerr, when our SRO, Mike Kerr's there, or whatever SRO, he opens at about 7:15 when the kids start coming, but he's standing there. And he locks that door at 7:40 the latest. I mean, if kids are still walking towards the building, you'll stand there, but our school starts at 7:35. We have a few stragglers that he sticks around for, locks that door up, and then
So that's the other part. That's a non-safety issue, but the breakfast in the morning there, most of the kids get off the bus, they grab breakfast, grab that and go too. But that's really how the system works. So if you're asking me how the system works, I think it works great in the morning. I think it's efficient. I think it does that. But like Mr. Kemmler said, it's 2 entrances in the morning.
So do they hold the kids on the buses until a certain time, and they all unload at the same time?
Well, during COVID, we used to separate them off, but yeah, I think at this point, we're like a couple buses at a time, 2 or 3 at a time, and then they move out, we slide the buses off 2 or 3 at a time.
Right, because
Yeah.
like my district, one bus comes, they unload
Yeah.
a couple minutes, I mean, they're all not there at the same time, so it
Yeah.
would be, that door would be open longer.
Yeah, no, we're basically the same time, just for, so they're not all running through the door at the same time, we do it like structurally. During COVID, even in the elementary, it took longer, we were doing one
Oh,
bus at a time, one
absolutely.
bus at a time, one bus at a time, but we're doing 2 or 3, sliding them up, those kind of.
But it's not like a half-hour
No.
dismissal drop.
Absolutely.
Unload buses, yeah.
No. 10
no,
minutes
most of the
at
kids are in within 3 minutes. We got it down to where 4 buses unload,
Yeah,
another 4 buses unload,
yeah.
because we only have 10 buses that come through in the morning. And then the last 2 buses, they're all together. In the winter, occasionally you'll have a bus have to
Right.
sit around for a couple minutes, but they do a really good job of all being there at 7:25.
Any other things? I appreciate the update that, because of that, the awareness again, to kind of look at our safety updates, and we'll be looking at that this summer. So I appreciate that. All right, the athletic contract review.
Okay, so, one of the areas that we've discussed, is to document our athletic, contract that our student parents sign, each year for athletic participation and continued athletic participation. And, we talked a little bit about it last month. I kind of breezed over it a little bit. Some of our discussion focused, and I'll let you kind of, provide your input in a minute here. But if you go to, page 3, I gave you another copy today in case you didn't bring it, the disciplinary matters and how that's taken care of. So if you look specifically at number 1, it deals with our illegal substances, and so forth, and what the consequences are for those illegal substances. And then there's, underneath that, for a first offense, second offense, third offense, fourth offense. Looking underneath that, you'll see there's a couple of starred items. The substance abuse consequence will be cumulative for a student during their junior high and high school athletic careers. Suspension can carry over from one season to the next, depending on when the incident occurs. And during that suspension, our student athletes will continue to practice with his or her team, but will not be eligible to compete in any athletic events, including preseason and postseason games. So just to kind of clarify that bottom piece, once you commit a contract violation during a sports season, so if you commit a legal substance contract suspension in football in 7th grade, that stays with you throughout your athletic career at West Canada Valley. So in 10th grade, if you commit another illegal substance violation on track in 10th grade and you had another one in 7, that would be a second offense. What this doesn't cover is if the offense occurs when you are not on athletic contract. So if the offenses occur while you're on athletic contract, that's a first offense. If it doesn't occur during the time that you're on athletic contract, it is not considered one of these offenses. So there is a possibility that you could have an offense that occurred in the fall, and then you have another offense that occurs in the spring or even the following year, and you're on contract, and that's a first offense according to our contract right now, according to the sports visa. In terms of disciplinary action with the school district and those kinds of things, that's a different ballgame. And I wanted to make sure I clarified that for you on that part. If you flip over to the second page, the rest of this, page 4 I should say, the rest of this deals with our academic eligibility, criminal activities where you're actually arrested, and the ineligibility piece that deals with academics. And then if you flip over to the next page, and I want to highlight one number for you on this, which is page 5 of this packet I gave you. Number 7 is citizenship. So when it doesn't have anything to do or directly has anything to do with an illegal substance, which we identified clearly here, then it kind of generally falls under the citizenship and the virtue of being a privileged position, a role model for younger students. Student athletes are held to a higher standard of behavior. They're expected to conduct themselves both in and out of school as responsible young adults by displaying such characteristics as courtesy, cooperation, and honesty, and will refrain from acts of behavior that are incompatible with the purpose and goals of interscholastic athletic program. Athletes who do not adhere to this philosophy will be subject to an athletic hearing with the athletic director, head coach, and the high school principal. So if we have issues with the athlete during the season that doesn't necessarily pertain directly to a violation of an illegal substance that's listed in that number 1, most of our other violations fall under this piece. And then we make some decisions where it's a little more open to what we think as a group, and ultimately the athletic director will make a decision on what we think should be the suspension for that piece of, or for that incident. So that's really how this works. I can quite honestly say, thankfully, and in this district, these happen very seldom. We don't have a lot of athletic contracts. We can count on one hand the incidents this year. It had been a few years now. Granted, COVID's delayed some of this stuff a little bit, but we don't have usually a ton of athletic violation, contract violations that we have to deal with here, and that's been good. But we do have these things in place. One other thing, if you go back to page 3 on the consequences for substance abuse, I think somebody maybe. Somebody asked me about this, the percentages. So the percentages were put in, again, I'm speaking just on my own research on how this kind of got developed. The percentages are really based on the fact that our seasons are different for every sport, and the number of games are different. So to have blanket number of games, if you said you're going to have a 5-game suspension, for example, for whatever the violation, the substance of violation, well, 5 games in a basketball season is 5 out of 20. 5 games in a football season is 5 of your 7. So the proportionality of that percentages is where that, sort of logic came with percentages and so forth with that. So again, biggest thing out of that whole thing is the consequences. They pertain to when you are on contract and not necessarily the entire school year. And that's how
Unless
the
you're a
contract,
three-season athlete.
unless you're a what?
Three-season athlete.
Yeah, so yes, and even that you could potentially, if something were to happen in between seasons, you're technically not on contract. A lot of times they're overlapping, but yeah, in theory, like, so if you have a bad season, for lack of a better word, in terms of wins and losses, and you don't qualify for sectional play, there could be a gap between the seasons.
Oh, yeah.
Fortunately, we've had some success, so we have overlap, there's not really much gap in our seasons in most cases, but in a year where you do, you could. And those percentages will overlap, so if the percentage during that season doesn't cover it, there's not enough activities or events left to cover that, then it would overlap to the next sport they participate in as well. So, just some clarification before, if there's anything further we want to look into or discuss, and thoughts on what you've seen in the contract, where we are with this, and if there are things that you'd like me to look into further to potentially change. What we would do at this point is bring some of those back to a committee within the school, teachers, coaches, them, the administrators, and have a meeting on some of the ideas, get some ideas from them as well, and come back to the board here, we discuss some of those things, and then we make a decision on, allow public to comment on any of those decisions that we're potentially thinking about making, or changes we're potentially thinking about making, and then we make a motion to approve those changes to the contract. Again, all of it can be done before, by August, let's put it that way, if we want those to be implemented by the fall. But if we're good with this, after the explanations of where we're at with this and you understand it, it can stay where it's at as well, so.
I personally feel it needs to be updated. I know
Okay.
there could be a committee to do so.
Okay. Do you have specifics?
I think a lot of it's outdated. It just is outdated to me. I left my original copy where my notes were at home, but I don't think you need 4 strikes. I think you could go down to 3.
Okay.
Come up with some ideas on, how to avoid just playing another sport so that you don't keep and use up the punishment before your sport
That's
that you
another
really
one.
wanna play.
What do you think about that? Yeah,
I don't
like a
know.
thought on that, or no? I understand, because we talked about it a little bit, I get it, where you're
Yeah.
going, because,
Right, it is a hard, yeah, I don't have it.
I think it's gotta go based off the athlete, and if you go at their past, go at their past participation, if they've never ran track a day in their life, but wanna get their punishment through before their next season, the punishment, behavior doesn't change.
yep, there we go.
I think that's gonna be hard though.
Yeah, because what if it's a 7th
Very
grader,
subjective.
somebody does not.
Well, it's just,
Then you don't
a
know.
punishment's meant to change behavior.
Right,
And it's not punishment if they are thinking outside the box. The real world doesn't work like that.
Sure.
And just being a parent, having children come up through, you say you haven't had many problems with this, but my own child, I would have put him up if I could have, because he wasn't following contract. So I really want the coaches to realize this is serious. And if they see something, hear something, they need to follow up on that, not wait to the end of the season, not to end of the week, end of the marketing period. I mean, there was a big, when we changed the passing to 65, when it was 70.
Yep.
People were, you wanted that standard.
Yep.
I think if you want these kids to represent our school, they should be held to a higher standard, especially with all the things that they're winning, and they're out in the
Sure.
news, and you want them to be respectable young people.
Yep.
And take it seriously.
So you don't feel our student athletes are taking things seriously?
I don't know, I mean, to not ever have any issues with this, people just sign it and move on. I'd be surprised if some kids were playing, this hasn't even been signed. Is what I'm saying, too.
Yeah, well,
I think you just need to tighten it up and really come up front. This is real stuff. This is serious. You talk talk about citizenship, you know, it's gotta be just as important as your academics if you wanna participate,
All right, so you're gonna get.
or any extracurricular. I'm not even talking sports, I'm talking musicals, band, everything. I think you need to have your standard up a little higher. And I've looked at other districts too, and it could be changed, just based off, I compared them with other schools as well.
Yeah, sure.
So you're gonna get you have to get a committee?
Yeah, I mean, I can get a committee together. What we would do is basically take ours, look at it. We would do what, you know, Mrs. Michael just mentioned. We compare, we look at different ones that we think. Sometimes I'll talk to some different, or administrators, or the athletic director will talk with theirs, things they like about theirs, things they don't like about theirs. And kind of,
Need a board rep on that committee?
Potentially, yeah, but we also can, you know, have some informal discussion, at least initially, on
I'd
that.
be interested in being,
That's why I was
and I
saying-
think you should have students.
Yeah,
But I mean, I know like neighboring districts, if you're targeting school, you can't participate if it's a game or practice.
yeah,
And when you talk about attendance issues,
Yep.
there's one way to get your attendance up.
yeah.
If you're late, you can't go after school.
Anything else on the athletic contract? So it will go and review, be updated by August. Okay, announcements, all events will be outside the tent on the football field. So June 22nd is the sixth grade moving up at 9:30. Pre-K graduation is at 12 and 2. The athletic ceremony is at 5 o'clock. June 23rd is the National Junior Honor Society and the National High School, right?
Yep.
Awards and honor ceremony at 5 o'clock on the 23rd. Commencement is on June 25th at 10 a.m. Any other announcements? That's good. Okay, public comment. Is there anybody that have anything? No? Okay. And then DJ, you wanted to talk about the band.
Yeah, so Mr. Broadbent covered most of it. You know, tonight we have all the hardware that we won down in Sherburne. It was nice to get back to Sherburne. It's been a few years with COVID. Get back down there, and as I mentioned early in the meeting, our concert band scored. You know, we won the Class B championship, but the bigger thing to me was that our concert band performance that we did down there in the school was the highest score of any school in any class. And that's, you know, everything, we did a great job in all areas for sure, being a small school. But that's pretty impressive. You know, I was there, and I'm not gonna claim to be a music expert, but it sounded pretty good to me, so. I kinda thought we won after it was done too.
No, we were-
Now, will they be displayed in the,
Yeah, so the music
Main
cases
hallway.
we have, yeah, where we can fit them in there, yep. Some of them are a little bit larger, so we gotta find cases for them. Yeah,
No,
the other ones will.
It's good to see them back out and marching and being able to do that, so.
put the big one in the main office?
Good.
On DJ's desk.
Yep, put it right out there.
All right, anything else?
For the board on graduation day.
Yeah,
Where
so
are we sitting?
Yeah, so you'll be sitting, I'll have seats set up for you up near the front there. There's about a section for everybody that's there. You know, we talked about this, we're going back to the normal before, so the requests are out for anybody. So if you do get requests, they'll put your name down on those, so you'll be the one that hands them the diploma. It's just board members that hand them, otherwise Sean will hand out the diplomas. But other than that, it'll be back to the normal ceremony. I believe, Mr. Broadbent, we have some people coming to present their scholarships as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll have some, and that's always the case. Sometimes we present them for them, they don't want to, and then there's some that want to present their own scholarships that night, or that day, that morning up there. We haven't done that in the last few years because of COVID, but we are going back to that this year as well.
Are the kids getting squares where their family sits in a square? They're
No,
getting so
we're gonna
many
have chairs
tickets.
set up out there for them, like a regular area, so.
Are they, is everybody gonna be, looking at the tent, cause I know that the whole tent concept is new to people that haven't been in a few years.
Yeah.
You've got the graduates underneath,
Yep,
are they, is anybody else gonna be underneath that, or just the graduates?
So probably just the graduates at that point in time, and then we usually set up, because the graduates generally will fill most of that area up. We'll see kind of there. We're moving that tent way closer this year to the school though, because we don't need that kind of space to do that. So we'll still walk up through, but that way anybody else who comes, who's on the hill will be much closer than they were. That was one of the things we looked at last year, that we were just not sure on how much space, but that was back when we were making those big squares and spacing everybody out.
Right.
So we needed more area. We're not gonna need that kind of area this year outside, so it'll just all move back closer to the
And
to the
people
school.
can sit
Yeah. they can sit
wherever
Wherever
around.
outside the fence, and then we'll have specific ticket areas for inside, like the chairs.
anywhere around the fence.
Yeah, fence, hill, up, like you're watching a game. Yep. There'll be just an area for the video, the streaming stuff that we'll continue to stream that'll be blocked off, but other than that, it'll all be open on the whole hill. So everybody, there'll be no limit to who can come. It'll just, the only thing we have to limit is actually inside of the chairs. We just don't have enough for that, but,
What's the plan for torrential downpour?
yeah.
It's not
Can I
good.
say it's not gonna happen? Is that an answer?
Put your rosaries on.
Well, we
So-
had that last year.
So a couple of years ago, yeah, a couple of years ago, when we had the split ceremonies, we did pretty well in the morning. We got, in between, got hit pretty good. So the plan is to be out there, as we get closer to that, it could potentially, potentially move to another day. It could potentially move to the auditorium. I know the other day doesn't sound good. But the problem when you do the auditorium is that people like the idea of bringing everybody, and they don't have a limit to who can come. So if I do that, then I'm getting them into a streaming situation where they can't, they're just gonna be able to watch from another room, that kind of thing. So, I mean, I have contingency plans, but I would say to everybody in here that people, I've talked to a lot of people who always do outdoors. You bring your umbrella, the only way it's really gonna get canceled is if, like Mr. Kemmler said, we got storms and things like that, so.
There's no way to have a backup into the gym?
That wouldn't change, the gym wouldn't change for me the graduation numbers that I have outside. I mean, the auditorium, it's the seating piece of it and I don't know, maybe I would be able to seat everybody in there. But most of the time we fill the tickets for who can fill that auditorium, and because we have spillover with more family that would be coming, the only way I could make it clean was to sell tickets and tell people that if it does get moved inside, if you don't have a ticket, you're not gonna be able to see it. And that, I don't wanna do that, but we could do that.
I think
And then
that's a good idea.
I think what you do is you did prior with the auditorium, each kid got so many based on the number of graduates
Yeah.
and seats. Those kids still get their tickets. That way, if we have to move it, those that have the tickets get to come in.
Yeah,
That's
so
how we
that can
do it.
happen. The problem is that and not that we're not using the tent throughout the week as well, so we did use it, but your tent cost doesn't go anywhere, you pay for the tent. Well, I'm not just using it for the ceremony either, so that is what it is. So yeah, I mean, we definitely could do that, we could move it inside.
I've known of schools that have moved it from a Saturday to a Sunday, and everybody's upset because
Yeah.
family's in town.
Yep.
So when you
Yep.
get to move in dates, you.
Great. The other part of it is how we use the risers and whether we get set up. I mean, it's not a decision, the hard part is it's not a decision I can make last second. It's almost like I've gotta watch the weather. And, yeah, that's what I mean, like I can't watch it and wait till the morning to make a decision like I would with snow. Like we'd have to look and say, we don't like the way the weather looks, we're moving it inside, only ticket holders will be allowed to be inside, and then I'll get the wrath, that it's gonna happen, and we have to do what we gotta do to get it into the auditorium. And then it won't rain, and then, you know what I mean, so all these things, it'll be hard. I mean, I think everybody loves it outside, and I think it's a great thing, and I really like that people get to bring, especially if you're having graduation on that day, and you have other family that would like to come to the ceremony. I think it's a great thing where we had to limit numbers before, and I've got nothing but positive about it, I'll be honest. No one really to me has said, can we poop, like they all.
Even when it downpours, people still like it.
They'd rather, yeah, I mean,
I mean, you might not have.
it is what it is, it doesn't bother
Or
me, I
Mr.
feel
Brumman,
badly.
who got really
So a
wet.
couple hours and, people get to see it, I don't mind seeing it.
I can honestly say, I don't know if I can't even think of anybody that's called me and said, can we move it back inside, because it's cold, it's not now or anything, everybody I think kinda likes it out there, it's generally cooler in most cases, there's air. You get move around, people who have kids have a little more freedom to move around with the little ones, where you're in the auditorium, you
Do
feel
you
like
have
you're
a
making.
cart for the people that need help getting
Yep,
down?
yep, we're gonna have a cart that's gonna bring people in, yep.
And the kids are gonna be on the risers, the graduates will be on the risers.
Not under the tent because of the height of
The
it.
tent, yeah, the tent doesn't allow for the risers, so they'll be on chairs on the flat surface, but like I said, we're moving that closer, so
Closer,
it's gonna
because we
be,
couldn't see them.
it's gonna be quite a bit closer. Like, we were on the other side of the field with the tent before to leave all that space, I mean, it's coming right, way over.
And we can move them their chairs next
Yep,
to each other,
we can move
so we
it,
don't
yeah.
have so many rows
Yep,
because of COVID
Correct.
restrictions.
yeah, so we were spaced all the way to the back of the tent
That's true.
before, so, yeah.
How close are you coming, did you say?
Quite a bit. We were way over on the other side, we
You're
can.
not on the track.
No, we can, no, because we can bring the tent almost to like midway over, and then have the chairs there before that.
I'm just concerned with stakes for a tent.
No, they're out, it's still in the middle of the
You get
field,
one
I'm
on
telling
that
you, we set it up on the other side of the field, the other sideline.
Probably don't have a
last
track.
year. Maybe not quite that far, but we were way over on the other side. Nope, we're good.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, I need a motion to go back into executive session to discuss personal matters and contract negotiations. Jessica first, Sarah second, all in favor?